This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming and joining us this evening for the learning of Torah Hashem Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. As always, we begin B'Rishus Demad Asra, Rav Landau, and with continued appreciation to all of you wonderful people for coming and making this shir possible. Tonight's shir is being specially sponsored by Israel Lippel and family, and it is being sponsored L'Refuah Shalema for Vayakheil David ben Leah. Again, we learn L'Refuah Shalema for Vayakheil David ben Leah, that he should have a Refuah Shalema b'seich Vayakheil Yisrael. My Rebbetzin and I would like to wish a Mazel Tov to Chaim and Eva Silber on the marriage of their children, on the wedding of their children this Sunday. The Zivik should be highly Yafazayin. They should be Baina Bayis Nem B'Yisrael L'Shem L'Seferis. We learn L'Refuah Shalema for Avram ben Leah and L'Refuah Shalema for my Rebbetzin Miriam Liba Bas Devora, that she should have a Refuah Shalema b'seich Vayakheil Yisrael. We learn with the tefillah that all those that have been touched by the dreaded machla, known as Yana Machla, other related diseases, should have a Refuah Shalema b'seich Vayakheil Yisrael. All of us and our loved ones should always be healthy. All those that are looking for their shidduch should find their shidduch quickly and easily. All those that are awaiting children should be blessed with Zara Chaya v'Kayama, healthy mommy, healthy baby. We should have Parnasa berevach uv'chavod and lange gesunte zisa shalom bayis. Sheishes yomim te'asa malacha. 6 days work should be done. Uvayom hashvi yeh lachem kodesh. The 7th day is holy. Shabbos Shabbosayin la Hashem. Rashi and the Ramban tell us that the parsha starts off with Ashara Shabbos, with the warning of Shabbos, in order to teach us that even for the Meleches HaMishkan, one has to be careful not to desecrate the Shabbos. And that's why the parsha of Vayakheil, which speaks about the Meleches HaMishkan, is prefaced with the law of Shabbos to tell us that the making of the Mishkan does not supersede the Shabbos. So the Shalah HaKadosh asks, the Al-Shach HaKadosh asks, I don't understand. If Korbanos Adoiches HaShabbos, that's the halacha. The Tmidin Kilchasan, Tmidin Kisidrin, Musafin Kilchasan are all Doiches HaShabbos. The Korban Tamin is Doiches HaShabbos. The Musaf is Doiches HaShabbos. So the Mishkan, which makes it all happen, why isn't it Doiches HaShabbos? That's the Al-Shach's question. So the Chavas Das gives a very interesting answer. The Chavas Das says that everything about the Mishkan was miraculous. The Mishkan was not made by Bnei Adam. Of course, B'tzal Ben Uri and Oholiav, they were conductors. But the Mishkan was Ma'aseh Yedei Hashem. Like the Menorah was shown in Menorah Shalesh, it was Ma'aseh Yedei Hashem. It was made by Hashem. And Hashem keeps Shabbos. And that's why the Asiyas HaMishkan is not Doiches HaShabbos. And says the Chavas Yair, that's what the pasuk says. Sheishes yomim te'aseh malacha. 6 days the work gets done. We don't do it, that's why it says te'aseh. The work gets done. Hashem does the Meleches HaMishkan. Well, therefore, v'ayom hashvi yeh lachem kodesh, because it's a Shabbos Shabbos and Hashem. The Mishkan was made by Hashem. And Hashem was kaveh that he has menucha b'Shabbos. That's Chavas Yair says it's just a murder of Shabbat. Of course, that's not the simple understanding. The simple understanding is that the menorah was very difficult, but everything else was done by Bnei Adam. And I think that the actual question of why the Meleches HaMishkan is not Deiches HaShabbos is not such a difficult question. Truth of the matter is, why are Karbanos Deiches HaShabbos? Karbanos achieve something that is of a 24/7, 365 necessity. Karbanos make shalom between Yisrael and Avinu Shebashamayim. Right? That's what it says. Mizbeach makes peace between us and our Father in heaven. Now, making peace between us and our Father in heaven, that Gadol HaShalom Shekol HaTorah Kula Nidna L'Asa Shalom Ba'ila. That is something that we could understand, especially when it's a national carbon. The national carbon, a Tamid, a Musaf, those are national karbanos. And we know when there's Shalom, that's national security. National security, that's Deiches HaShabbos. The Meleches HaMishkan, that's only a Heksher Mitzvah. That's not the actual karbanos. That's a Heksher Mitzvah. Heksher Mitzvah, that's not Deiches HaShabbos. We know that Machshirei Mitzvah, we have Rabbi Eliezer the Mila, but most opinions are Machshirei Mitzvah not Deiches HaShabbos. Now, just Agav, I want to speak about this. The Yitzhak Plois brings it down. It's brought down in several other places. We know that Avram Avinu made Shachris, and Yitzchak made Mincha, Yaakov made Tfilas Mariv. It's brought down that Musaf of Rosh Chodesh was instituted by Rachel Imeinu. Fascinating thing. We know that the Rosh Chodesh was taken over by women. Initially, Pesach was Avram, Sukkot was Shavuos was Yitzchak, and Sukkot is Yaakov, and the 12 Rosh Chodeshes were the 12 Shvatim. When the Shvatim sinned with the Chet HaEgel, it was taken from the men and given to the women. So Rosh Chodesh already is a woman's Yom Tov, a woman's Mayit. And it's brought down that Rachel Imeinu, the Chidah actually says it. It's a Chidah. In the Birchas Yosef. The Chidah says that Rachel Imeinu instituted Tfilas Musaf, and there's a hint to it all the way in the beginning of the Tfilah. Because all the way in the beginning of the Tfilah it says, Roshei Chadashim La'amcha Nasata. Roshei Chadashim La'amcha is Rosh Tevis Rachel. Roshei Chadashim La'amcha is Rosh Tevis Rachel. So that's a hint that Rachel Imeinu wrote Tfilas Musaf Shel Rosh Chodesh. Now, the truth of the matter is if you take a good look at Tfilas Musaf, once you get a clue like this, then you could always find further hints in the actual script. So, for example, one of the interesting things we say in Tfilas Musaf is we say that it should be a time of Useshuas Navsham Miyad Soinei, the salvation of the soul from the hands of the enemy. Now, who's the enemy? The Yetzer Hara. So here, Rachel Imeinu wrote a payet Useshuas Nafsham, that there should be a salvation of the soul miyad sonei. Now that's a perfect bracha for Rachel Imeinu, a perfect tefillah, because her son was Yosef HaTzadik. The son sure went after Yosef HaTzadik with the wife of Potiphar. Such a temptress, she changed many, many times a day, tempting him. And we know that's why he was called Yosef HaTzadik, because Shepit Beit B'Yitzray. he successfully combated his Yetzer. So we know one of the things that he helped him was that he saw the most Yukna Shalavit. He saw the image of his father. So now we see also the mama had something to do with it, because it says in Seshuas Navsha Miyad Sainei. See how much a tata and a mama have to do for their children. You know, many parents, they think about their own sins. But we have to daven for our children, for our grandchildren. Very important. Now, there's another interesting part of this tefillah. It says that it's a zman kapara l'chol toldoisam. Now, the Das Zakein Balitaisis, I quoted this recently. There's a Das Zakein Balitaisis that says that since Askara, diphtheria, is a curse that comes from the luminaries. That's why on Wednesday, Yom Revi, it says Ma'orais, Chaser Vav. It's read Ma'orais. And the Das Zakenim says that we pray Zman Kapara L'chol Toldoisam. It should be atonement for all children that they shouldn't die from Askara. But now, knowing that Rachel Imeinu wrote Zman Kapara L'chol Toldoisam, because actually the Chol Toldoisam is a very strange way of writing it. So Zman Kapara L'chol B'nayim or Doroseyim. What's L'chol Toldoisam? But Rachel Imeinu died in childbirth. So it could also be a tefillah Zman Kapara L'chol Toldoisam that the Teiloda, childbirth, should be good. It's also in now actually it's interesting, tefillas Musaf and Yosef is very close. Musaf as a man, Yosef as a yud, but otherwise it's the same word. And the truth of the matter is that Yosef was a Musaf, was an addition. She wasn't supposed to have Yosef. She was supposed to have Dinah. But Leah was mispalel and she got Yosef instead. Remember, there was a whole switcheroo. That's why Yosef had certain features of a woman. He was Misalsel Basarai. And Leah has certain features. Dinah has certain features of a man. She was a Yatzanas like her mother. That's all because of the switcheroo. Now, in this week's Parsha, which, by the way, it's very rare for me to give a shir in Vayakheil. If you look through my tapes, only about a quarter of the years is there a Vayakheil shir, because usually, if it's not a leap year, I'm already talking about the Megillah. So a Vayakheil shir is not, I think I didn't find many Vayakheil shirs. I brought one here from 5765. It was actually one of the few that I found. There were not many Vayakheil shiurim. So, one of the things that are discussed a lot in this parsha is the law of Leisevaru Eish B'chol Moishvei Seichem B'Yom HaShabbos. Now we know there are 39 malachas. Actually, we learn it out from Eila Hadvarim. Eila is B'Gematria 36. Devarim is 2, it's 38. Hadvarim is 1, it's 39. It's one of the things that we do from a Gematria, 39 malachas. We know it other ways also. But we learn it out from the Melechus HaMishkan. But Hashem say Tishmaru Ves Mikdashi Tiro. But why does it single out Loisavaru Eish B'chol Moishvei Seichem B'Yom HaShabbos? So we know that this Gemara says Havara Lalav Yotza. Some say that there's only a lav. Others say it's a Chalik Yotzasa, that you chayiv a separate carbon for each malacha. If you have, if it depends how, but if it's a case of Zedoin Shabbos v'Shigiyas malacha, where you knew it was Shabbos but you forgot that it was a malacha, so you can be chayiv for each and every malacha a chatas. But the Tikkun Zayar, and the Shalach HaKadosh both say that Leisevaru Eish B'chol Moishvei Seichem B'Yom HaShabbos is a warning not to allow the fire of anger to get the better of you in all your habitats b'yom HaShabbos. You have to know that many times when the Torah says things, it's multifaceted. For example, lo yisirtzach, thou shalt not murder. I mean, a Jew would not think of murdering. He wouldn't even think of having an abortion. But lo yisirtzach also means not to embarrass a person in public, because kol hamal b'mprei chaveiroi, and the blood drains from his face. It's as if you killed him. It also, as is brought down in many of the Svarim HaKadoshim, it also refers to not killing time, because time is life. Lo yisignov doesn't only refer to stealing, it also refers to gneivus hadas. So here too, lo yisavaru eish b'chol ma'ishrei seicha means not just that you shouldn't light a fire, but shouldn't allow the fire of wrath on the Shabbos day in all your habitats. Now that's b'chol ma'ishrei seicha means not just in shul, at home, at your friend's house, in the street. Now, the discussion amongst the Mefarshim over here is very worthwhile to look into. We know there's a Maimer Chazal, Kol HaKayes Kol Minei Gehenim Sholten Boi. Whoever gets angry, all the treatments of Gehenim, of hell, will hold sway over him. Now, the simple meaning of this, like the Chavetz Chaim says, in Gehenim there are a lot of treatments. Just like Rachmana litzlan, Sloan Kettering has a lot of treatments. There's chemotherapy, there's radiation, there's surgery. Then there's different chemotherapies. There's oxaliplatin, there's Gemzar, there's 5-fluorouracil, there's leucovorin, there's all kinds of treatments. There's nuclear therapy, there's immunological therapy, there's all kinds of therapies. The Gemara says the destruction to the soul that's done by anger will need all the treatments of hell. That's how bad anger is. That's a simple pshat in Kol HaKayes Kol Minei Gehenim Sholten Boi, which tells us how bad anger is. Maharsha says a different pshat. And it's kedai for the Maharsha to listen. It's always kedai with the Maharsha. But the Maharsha says a gedanka over here that's scary. In order to understand this Maharsha better, I'll first contrast it to a Gemara in Tanis. The Gemara in Tanis says, Talmid Chacham Sherosach. It's in the beginning of Tanis, Tanis Daf Daled. The Gemara says that a Talmid Chacham Shekas, a Talmid Chacham gets angry, it comes mitoldas Torasai. The anger is born from his Torah. Sha'eshel Torah reisekes by, because the fire of Torah is boiling inside him. So the anger is fire. That fire originates from his Torah. Torah is fire. Miyaminai eish das lamai. From his right hand, a fiery law to his people. Bereish is the same letters as bris eish, a covenant of fire. So Torah is a fire. A Talmid Chacham that's angry, that's from the fire of his Torah. Says the Maharsha, an average person that gets angry, the fire originates from the fire of Gehenna. That's pshat kol hakayes kol minei gehenim sholten by. Because the fires of Gehenna are within him. So imagine if I would tell you that if you get angry, for that minute there's cancer cells in you, Rahmanos. Person would really think twice about getting angry. Ma'ashah says when a person gets angry, he's bringing the fires of hell inside him. Or let's put it a different way. He's having a hellish experience. And says the Mefarshim that that's why the Torah specifies because we know the fires of Gehenna don't burn on Shabbos. That's why we delay because we don't want the fires to start so fast. The fires of Gehenna are off on Shabbos. And here this person is introducing fire of Gehenna even on Shabbos. Now, there's a much more simple reason that the Torah warns us, of course, you're never supposed to get angry. So the shaila is, so why does it say specifically on Shabbos? It's like saying you shouldn't smoke on Sundays. I mean, you shouldn't smoke ever. You shouldn't get angry on Shabbos. You should never get angry. And we said kas is the same letters as eches. Eches means poison. It's a poison for the body, anger. It causes heart disease. It causes high blood pressure. It causes diabetes. It breaks relationships. When you're angry, it says that you don't calm down a person when they're angry because we learned that out from the Eibishter. Hide a moment until my anger passes. Why? Not by the Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyachal, it's only a demonstration for us. But I heard from Rav Irving Bunim, when a person is angry, their brain is in park. So Rav Irving Bunim said, try to press the gas pedal with the brain in park, with the car in park. It's not going anywhere. Says Rav Irving Bunim, when a person gets angry, his brain is in park. Don't try to reason with him. And so why would a person want to put themselves in such a situation that their brain is in brain freeze? It's used by fools. Why would a person want to be a fool? But the reason why the Torah warns us not to get angry on Shabbos, I think the simple reason is because on Shabbos it's much more likely that people will get angry. Ramila would say, Ramila would say that if a couple came to him with a shalom bayis problem, the first thing that he would look is to see if the husband was out of work. So the husband's out of work, he says it's likely that he's home too much, and he gets to see his wife too much, and she gets to see him too much, and they find out that they have a lot of problems. So it's not good for husband and wife to be on top of each other too much. They get to see that they're nothing really special. So that's the meaning of Gedoyla Malacha Shemechabedes Esbal. The person is busy. They don't see each other all the time. It's important. Gedoyla Malacha. On Shabbos, people are on top of one another. That's why there's no Sunday in Yiddishkeit. It says Sheishes Yomim Tavit. By the Goyim, the emergency rooms are very busy over the weekend. The team loses, he goes home and he beats his wife. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. I know I have people working in the emergency rooms. When a team loses, when a home team loses, there's a lot of instances of domestic abuse. Remember, we say in Havdalah, to us that's foreign. But we say in Havdalah, the difference between a guy and a yid is like the difference between night and day. But Gedolim Malacha Shemechaberes is Bala. When people have a lot of time on their hands, so then they could get on each other's nerves, they could say things, they could have too much time and look for problems and notice problems. So therefore the Torah says it's a Shabbos, it's your home with the family, you have time. Lo yisevaru eish b'chol ma'ishveiseichem b'yom HaShabbos. Now this is a very practical reminder that the Torah is saying. So make sure your Shabbos day is occupied. Go to a shir. Sing zmiras at the table. Learn with the children. Do something productive with your wife that will be misameach. If your time is not productively used, it could come to fire of gas. Sleeping is good for that reason. Shina Shabbos tainig. You're learning? Okay, might be even better. It is better, but if you're not going to sleep, you're not going to fight when you're sleeping. It's a big thing. Shabbos stands for Shina Shabbos tainig. Husband and wife sleep together, they're getting along perfectly. But I'll add to this. He makes sure that he doesn't invite somebody to the table who, a couple or a person that the wife will not get along with. And later on they'll fight about it. You know, you spend time with him, I don't see you the whole week. You didn't pay any attention to me. You were paying more attention to his wife than to me, your own wife. You were having some kind of conversation with her. I don't remember the last time you laughed with me like you laughed with her. You have to be careful with this. You have to be careful with this. Torah says, it means don't talk at the table discussions that could cause fights. Stay away from such discussions. Now let's add to this a subject. Before I do, I think it's proper just to speak a little bit longer about the genus of Kas. You know, when Shmuel HaNavi went to the house of Yishai to pick the next Melech Yisrael, his automatic choice was Eliyav. Eliyav looked like a king. Towering. You know, this is after Shalom Melech. Shalom Melech from his shoulders was higher than any man. Eliyav looked like a king. Even his name, Eliyav, to be the Av, to be the patron. And when he came in, he right away said, Neged Hashem Meshichai. Facing Hashem, here's his anointed. Eliyav was the obvious pick. And the Rebbeinu Shalom says, Al tabet el mareyu. Don't look at him. Ki mi'astiu. I rejected him. Not just rejected him. Mi'astiu means I'm distasteful of him. But Rashi says, because he gets angry. He gets angry. He's a kasser. Says, Vayicha af Eliyav David. He gets angry. You're an angry, you can't be a leader. Because it says, Kol hakoyes chochmosoi mistalekes eimenu. You get angry, your wisdom leaves you. You can't afford that. Can't lead. Especially not Klal Yisrael. Or like the Mefarshim tell us, how could you lead other people if you don't even have control and you can't lead yourself? You lose yourself to anger. If you lose yourself to anger, how can you lead other people? You can't even control yourself. In the words of the Orchis Chaim LaHarash, the Orchis Chaim LaHarash says a pithy statement. Al tivahel liksayf mishum davar. Don't lose yourself to get angry about anything. Zero tolerance, the Rush says. Zero tolerance to anger. Al tivahel. You'll say, well, this is different. No, al tivahel liksayf mishum davar. V'herich apcha. Be very tolerant. Be long-suffering. Pen te'avid chachmasecha, lest you lose your wisdom. Now, many times I've discussed this in this share, that another time we have to be very careful not to get angry is Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon, from the 10th hour on, the 10th hour of Friday, Adam and Chava sinned. And then they separated for 130 years. At that time, the Satan was given a koyach Friday afternoon to create a wedge between husband and wife. The last 2 hours of Friday afternoon. 2 hours before Shabbat. So much so, you know who talks about this a lot? The Heilige Ben Ish Chai from Baghdad. One of the Gdolei Ador of the Svardim. He writes as follows. Writes in Akdama of Shabbos Parsha Vayera. He says, Mi sheyesh lo mayach b'kod kodai. Somebody that has a brain in his head. That's the meaning. Mayach b'kod kodai. Somebody has a brain in his head. That's how strong he was. Yovin, he'll understand Shamichshel b'Erev Shabbos. If there's any type of stumbling block on Erev Shabbos, where's the shoes? I can never find my shoes. Why did you put up the kugel? Who took a shower? I don't have any hot water. Why can't I find my socks? Why can't you help me with the children? You told me you were going to take out the garbage. Why can't you do anything right? You know, I have to go to shul. Why ask me to do things? Shamichshol b'Erev Shabbos. He says anybody that has a mayach b'kod kodai, has a brain in his head, will know Shamichshol b'Erev Shabbos einay mebnei beisa. It doesn't originate from his wife, the husband. Elamei HaSatan. It originates from the Satan. He says, Mi yuchel l'ratzeach es HaSatan. How can you win with the Satan? You're going to win the Satan? He says, therefore, the right stance, the right posture, im kain, he says, el ha'maskel, yidaim, he'll be quiet, v'yishtaik, he'll be silent. V'toiv lei ba'elam hazeh ba'elam haba. That's a Ben Ish Chai. In the Ben Yoyada, he writes, in the Gemara in Shabbos Daf Lamed Daled, and this is also very interesting. He writes that he recommends that on Erev Shabbos you should speak softer in the house than the rest of the week. Isn't that amazing? Shebe'erev Shabbos yidvar b'nachas yoysim mikol hashvua. Should go out of your way to speak softer on Erev Shabbos than the rest of your week. Finally, in the Banayo, in Shabbos Daf Kuf Yotes, he says a moiridik remez to how you have to work on Shalom Friday. Says the Gemara over there says that Rabbi Chanina would robe himself and say to the Malachim, Bo v'neitzei likra Shabbos Malkusa. Let us come, let us go out to greet the Shabbos Malkusa. Says the Rasha Tevis of Bo v'neitzei likra Shabbos Malkusa is Bishalom. Bo is Beis, v'neitzei is Vav. Likras is Lamed, Shabbos Malkusa, Shin Mem is Bishalom. It's Rasha Tevis. He says, because that has to be the stress on Erev Shabbos. Okay, now I come to something which I have to tell you has been bothering me for the last week and a half. It was bothering me through Kisisa, but I didn't have enough to say, so I didn't say anything about it. And it bothered me in this parsha too. And it's been percolating and percolating and percolating, and I have to talk about it. Although I will tell you I'm talking about it, I'm surprised not more is spoken in the Mefarshim, and I will tell you that it still needs a lot of study. When Vayomer Moshe al b'nei Yisrael. Moshe said to the bnei Yisrael, Ru, see, Kara Hashem b'shem B'tzalel ben Uri ben Hur, that Hashem has proclaimed B'tzalel ben Uri ben Hur, he will be the master builder. This bar mitzvah boy, he was bar mitzvah, he's 30 years old. He will be the master builder of the most important building project of the universe. Imagine this. Imagine ground zero, lahavdil elef alfi alafim. They're bids from all over the world, and they appoint a 13-year-old boy from Texas. Here we're talking about the Dardeya. And they appoint in the Dardeya a 13-year-old boy. Now the first thing the Balaturim says is, Ru'u kara Hashem b'shem B'tzalel, that Moshe Rabbeinu was informing them. Says the Balaturim, it's a Gemara in Brachos, Daf Nun Hey, the Eim Amidin Parnas ala Tzibur Ela Medatam. It has to be with their knowledge, with their consent. You don't appoint any shul that makes arbitrary decisions, dictatorial decisions, or who will lead them, who will be their parnas, is asking for trouble. Asking for trouble. So Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, Ru'u, see. But the Dazakanim Balitaisus say that Klal Yisrael started b'meranin. Here he goes again, his own family. It's all in the family. It's a family business. Now, the building of the Mishkan, who does he pick? He picks Chur was the son of Miriam. He picks his sister's great-grandchild. Who do you think he picks? Keeps it in the family. It's all in the family. It's all locked up. It's all nepotism. It's a forerunner of Adas Kaira. Forerunner. Kulam Kedaishim. Lama Tisnasu Al Kal Hashem. You're the leader. Aaron is the Kohen Gadol. And Elitzef and Bar Parnach gets the Nesiyas. So here we have it already. They started to be Meranein. So you're keeping it in the family. So Moshe Rabbeinu says to Dazakenim Alitaisis, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Ru, I want to make it clear, Kara Hashem, I didn't choose B'tzalel. Kara Hashem. And Hashem explained it to me, because I asked myself, Rebbeinu Shalom, from my own family, you know how it's going to look? So Hashem said, the Mishkan comes to be Mechapa the Chet HaEgel. And during the Chet HaEgel, they killed Chur. And therefore, let it be built as part of the Kapara by Chur's grandchild. We know that when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shemayim, it's brought down in the Medrash, when he went up the 40 days, he appointed Aaron and Chur as his stand-in. That if they have any shaila, they should go to Aaron and Chur. And when Moshe Rabbeinu, in their mind, was delayed, Bo Sheish Moshe, they made a wrong calculation. So they went to Chur and they said, we need a representative. So Chur said, that's Avodah Zarah. And they said, we insist. And he said, no, they killed him. They killed him. As a matter of fact, everybody wants to know why Aaron succumbed. So we said last week, that he understood that if he wouldn't, they would kill him like Chur. And then it would be that they killed B'mikdash Hashem, Melech V'Novi, and there would be no hope. And the Chidah says, that's why it says, Vayiven Mizbeach Lefonov. So the Chidah says, Vayiven, he built because of Mizavuach Lefonov. Because of the one that was slaughtered in front of him. Because of Chur. So here's what's been bothering me. How could it be? How could it be? Miriam, who has a little girl as Pua, was Meiser Nefesh to save the children of Klal Yisrael from being killed. She defied the absolute monarch of Paro. How could it be that her own child should be killed by the Bnei Yisrael? Zu Torah v'zu schara? How could it be that Miriam, who ran around as Pua, defying power, and actually she helped them give birth to the point where it says she got so sick, to save the children of Klal Yisrael, that Hashem should allow that Klal Yisrael should kill her child? To aggravate the problem, the woman who saved Moshe Rabbeinu risked her life to go down and bravely dealt with the daughter of Paro and got Moshe Rabbeinu back to Yocheved so he could be nursed. She saved the Mashiach Shel Yisrael, and her child should be killed? How can it be? It bothered me so much that it could be that this is the reason. If you look in the Rishonim, it's not Muskam Lakol that Pua was Miriam. The Welt learns that Pua is Miriam. That's what Rashi says. But there's another pshat in the Medrash that Pua was Elisheva, the wife of Aaron. Now, the simple reason why the Medrash says that is because it makes a lot more sense age-wise. How could Pua have such a responsible job as a midwife? Miriam was a little girl then. A little girl. It was before Moshe Rabbeinu was born. She was a little girl. She was definitely no more than 6 years old. So therefore, it makes more sense to say that she was Elisheva Bas Aminadav. If she's Elisheva Bas Aminadav, we wouldn't have this big cash.
She's not also young, Elisheva.
What?
Elisheva was also just as young. How old should Elisheva be?
I don't know. I don't have proof how old Elisheva was. I don't have proof. But she's definitely, Aaron was much older.
Aaron was younger than Miriam.
So, what?
Aaron was younger than Miriam. Aaron was younger than Miriam, and Aaron's wife, imagine, like nowadays, wives are younger. I don't know.
That's true. That's true. Elisheva wasn't that old either. Elisheva wasn't that old either. That's true. But it makes no difference. This is neither here nor there. I'm just pointing out, this has nothing to do with the discussion. I'm just pointing out that Elisheva, if you learn that Pua is Elisheva, that answers my question. But the Welt doesn't learn that way. The Welt learns that Pua is Miriam. And then it comes a political question. If Pua is Miriam, how could it be that the woman who risked her life to save all the children of Klal Yisrael, defying Paro, her own child should be killed by Klal Yisrael? So the Emerson is, I think that Moshe Rabbeinu was bothered by this question. And that's why we have right after the Egel that Moshe Rabbeinu said, which the Gemara in Brachas Tav Zayin says, what does it mean? Why isn't it tzaddik v'raloi? And I want to suggest that he was asking specifically about her. How can this be? And mibnei ma'rosha v'toyloi. It comes to my mind three people that he could have been asking about Rasha v'toyloi. The first is Dasan and Aviram. It says that although 4/5 of Klal Yisrael died in the Makkah Chayshach, but the sea split again for Dasan and Aviram. They stayed behind with power, and the sea split for them again. For these people, Rebbeinu Shalom, Kol Makom Shenema Nitzim and Nitzavim Ein Elohein. For these people, everywhere they go, they tried to have me killed in Mitzrayim. Everywhere we go, we have a problem with them. With the mun, everywhere we go. And it could also be referring to Micha. Because it was Micha's shame that he had, together with the tas of Alei Shor, that brought up Yosef HaTzadik, that caused the Egel to come out. And Hashem, you allowed him to cross the Yam. It says, V'amayim lehem chayma, chosavav, v'amayim lehem chayma, Micha crossed with the Pesach. Haydieni nois, explain it to me. Now, happens to be the Ben Ish Chai says that part of this question we address in Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos. He says, Ish v'ar lo yeda. The wild person doesn't know. Chsilo yada azayis. Fool doesn't understand. But Froich v'shoyim k'mayayisav. Why did the wicked flourish like grass? The shamdam adiyad. K'dei l'tordam min olam haba. But we know that the Rabbi Nisham told him, sorry, this is something that you cannot understand. The Gemara says in Masechtas Brachos that Rabbi Nisham told him, V'chanoisi es asher ochain, v'richamti es asher arachain. I show favor to, I show favor, I show mercy to, I show mercy. It's mishpatecha toim rabba. In the words of the Heilige Mefarshim, Einanu mevinim oimek hadin. So the Masika R brings an example that we have of the complexity of Mishpatei Hashem. And it's important to understand this in trying to grapple with Misas Chor. We know that in the complex lineage of Chizkiyahu HaMelech and Yoshiyahu HaMelech, two very righteous kings. So we know that Chizkiyahu had a very, very, very wicked father. As righteous as Chizkiyahu was, he had a very wicked father. His name was Achaz. Achaz was a big Oved Avodah Zarah. As a matter of fact, we learn that Achaz tried to be Maver Chizkiyahu Avodah Zarah through fire. But Chizkiyahu's mother, the queen, coated him with Dam Salamandra, and that's why he didn't die. So this was a Jewish king who tried to kill his own son Avodah Zarah. You know, Chizkiyahu originally didn't want to have children. He was told by the Navi, "V'hadi kivshed Rachman olam alei." He would have wicked children. Chizkiyahu would have Menashe, and Menashe, who was a very wicked king, would have Ammon. But afterwards, there was born Yoshiyahu. Yoshiyahu was already a whole different story. After Ammon reigned for 2.5 years, Yoshiyahu was born. Yoshiyahu started being Malach at 8 years old. 8 years old, he knew very little. Mamash Atidik Shenishba. At 15, the Gemara tells us he found the Torah Bedek Abayis in the Beis HaMikdash, and he started learning. Became a big Talmid Chacham. He got rid of a lot of Avodah Zarah, but you know, there was a lot of secret Avodah Zarahs. In those days, they didn't bring a television in an air conditioner box. They brought an Avodah Zarah in an air conditioner box. There were a lot of hidden Avodah Zarah. One more detail before I tell you the sorry end of Melech Yoshiyahu. There was a time that Achaz had to do battle with Melech Aram. And Yirmiyah HaNavi came to tell him what would be the outcome. He was embarrassed of Yirmiyah HaNavi. He had, you know, there's some people, they have no shame. He was embarrassed, and it says that he took the mazleif of the kovetz. He took the launderer's keli, put it over his head to disguise himself, and he ran away. He was embarrassed of the Melech. That was the high point of Achaz's life, that he had busha from the Navi Yisrael. You have to understand, there were never wicked Nevi'im. It's an amazing stat. Never, there were false Nevi'im. But the real Nevi'ai Yisrael always said there were many Malachim that were wicked. Many of the Malchei Yisrael, the kingdoms of the north, were very wicked. They were wicked Kahanim Gedam. They were never true Nevi'im were never wicked. He was embarrassed. Anyway, once Yoshiyahu was developed as a big Talmid Chacham, Paro Nechai, Paro the lame, that's the whole story, how he became lame. But Paro Nechai asked Rishus from Yoshiyahu that he should pass through the land for a military campaign. Cherev Shel Shalom. Just wanted to have the right to pass through the land. So Yoshiyahu asked Yeshaya Hanavi, what he should do. And Yeshaya told him that he has b'Kabbalah chavi ma'at rega ad yavozam. He shouldn't let anybody through the land. He has b'Kabbalah. So Yoshiyahu asked him, is it nevuah? It's nevuah, I have to listen. Or is it just mikabbalah? He says, no, it's just mikabbalah. So he says, well, I have a different svara, and he dashed in the pasuk. The pasuk says, "Im b'chukoisai seilechu." If you walk in my statutes, v'nasati shalom ba'aretz, I'll grant peace in the land. V'cherev lo'isavar ba'artzachem. So he says, why does it? If there's peace, so then obviously there won't be a cherev. So he says it must be that im b'chukoisai teilechu, if Klal Yisrael is behaving properly, then even if it's a cherev shel shalom lo'isavar ba'artzachem. So he told Parnachei he's not giving him the right of passage. He made a mistake. He didn't know that it wasn't in B'chukoisei Teilechu, because many people were still secretly doing Avodah Zarah. So the pasuk didn't apply. And Paro came and attacked, because he didn't give him right of passage, and they shot 300 spears into Yoshiyahu. They made his body like a sieve. So here you have this righteous Melech, who Mamish turned around the land from his father Omain and his grandfather Menashe, and he was killed with such a Misa Meshuna, 300 spears. The Navi bent down and listened. What did he say? As he was dying, he said, Tzaddik hu Hashem ki piu marisi. Hashem is righteous, I rebelled against him. Mefarshim tell us that Yoshiyahu was a Gilgal of Achaz. And Achaz was allowed to come back quickly to be Mesakin because he had that moment of embarrassment when he put the launderer's thing on his head. He was embarrassed from the Navi, even though he was king. And Yoshiyahu Tzadiku Hashem Ki Piu Marisi is referring to the life of Achaz. That's what's brought down in the Rishonim. And therefore Chur, the Chidah brings down Chur was a Gilgal of Nachar. It's interesting because the name Chur is embedded in Nachar. And he died to be B'chapad Avodah Zarah of Nachar. These are things we can not know. And this Mishpatecha Time Rabbah. So Hashem says, even Moshe Rabbeinu, you can't know my ways. Tremendous lesson. Now I have a few things to add over here. Number one, we see the gadlus of Miriam. Her son was brutally killed. A gewaldiger son. A leader of Yisrael. We never find that Miriam talked about it, because if we did, Miriam was held accountable for Lashon Hara, for speaking about Moshe and Tzipora. Never did she speak about Klal Yisrael for what they did to her son. Who was the father? Kalev. I would suggest that that's why Moshe Rabbeinu, when he was mispal, he only had to be mispal for Yeshua. He didn't have to be mispal for Kalev. Because he knew that Kalev already knew what could happen from a rabble. He saw what happened to his own son. He knew that Kalev understood that. Now, my brother Yisrael was also a very big Talmid Chacham. So he said to me, you know, my Shmeya, always prefaces Achi Agadol when he talks to me. I'm the oldest brother. I have wonderful brothers, all Talmidei Chacham. So he says, you know, my Shmeya, I could never understand why is the whole incident of Chur camouflaged. You would think such a terrible thing. He was left as the third in command of Klal Yisrael. He was murdered brutally. We'd think that should be talked about. The Torah doesn't say it at all. We have to find Ramozim, Vayiv, Mizbeach, Lefanav. The Chidah says Vayiv, and he built it because he was afraid of Mizavuach, Lefanav. Why does the Torah leave it out? It's like somebody pressed the delete button on the whole mice. So the truth of the matter is that it's not an isolated thing. Same thing happened in the Megillah. Daniel was killed. He was then known as Hassach. Daniel was killed, and the Megillah doesn't mention it. We deduce it because it says that it has to send somebody else, that Haman killed Hassach. It's not mentioned. Daniel? Not even a whisper. Another, not on the same level, but another, the death of Haran. After Avram comes out of the Kivshan Aish, so then Nimrod says, and what about you? So Haran said, whatever, whichever one. So he saw Avram Avinu was right, so he went in and he died. He didn't have the exclusive. Nothing is mentioned. I believe, now besides the fact that there is an element of Gedalim Misa Tzadikim Shemechaper as Aladar, which definitely helped in Purim. I once made a tape about that, the secret area of Purim. It definitely helped him to be Mechaper in the Chet HaEgel, besides Moshe Rabbeinu's Tfilas. The Rabbeinu Shalom doesn't like to be Ma'orus Sveikus. Doesn't want to be Ma'orus Sveikus. There's no need to talk about it. We just heard Mishpatecha Toim Rabba. You can't understand. You can't understand why talk about it. It's a very big aside. I'm not happy when people bring little children to Holocaust museums. The mind of a child is definitely not developed enough to understand anything about coping with the Holocaust. And once that's the case, why are you exposing the child to it? You know, it's brought down that one of the things that caused Elisha ben Avuya to go off the derech, to become Acher, is he saw the tongue of Chutzmas HaMeturgim and Malachech Ba'ofer. It's Yishalm. And he couldn't handle it. This is a fully developed Elisha ben Avuya, the Rebbe of Rameir. people expose children to Holocaust? Now, I know why they do it. It comes from a good place. There's just this ferocious fear that it shouldn't be forgotten. Especially survivors want to make sure that they know about it. But you don't expose minds that the questions are harder than the answers. I know that my good friend Aryeh Meze, who's a publisher and owner of Judaica Press, that prints my Svarim, told me a lot of times Rav David Feinstein doesn't allow him to print certain Hashkafa Svarim or to translate them. Because they raise issues that sometimes the questions are much more easy to understand than the answers. And Rav David said to him emphatically, you're not allowed to be Meiris Vekas. And therefore to say that Chur was killed after Miriam the mama saved all those children and now they killed her child, it's hard to cope with. Doniel should be able to be killed by this monster Haman, and no other casualty died. That was one of the amazing things, that the Amalekis died, not one Jew died, but Daniel died. Hevel, he went into the fire. Nachsam Sefer says that Hevel got rewarded for his Mesiras Nefesh. All the Imais descended from Hevel. Hevel, I mean Haran. All the Imais descended from Haran. Some Sefer. Torah doesn't want. There's another thing I think also I want to add. And that is, it says, Yokar be'enei Hashem hamofsa l'chasidav. David HaMelech writes this. In Tilim Kuf Yud Zayin, we say it in Allah. Yokar be'enei Hashem hamofsa l'chasidav. As the Radak and the Ibn Ezra say on the Pasuk, it's schwer for Hashem for his Hasidim to die young. David HaMelech says that's why Hashem did so many miracles for me. Because Yokar Be'enei Hashem. We have a saying in English, it's too painful to talk about. Hashem doesn't want to talk about it. Yokar Be'enei Hashem hamofsa l'chasidah. Now, there's a Maril Diskin here. That's a Gewalt. By the way, we're on target to have Marv at 11:15. I will have to run out right away. I'm going to try to make one series of copies, but I have to get back to my Rebbitzin. I don't go out unless I have somebody with her. So somebody is with her now till very late in the night, special for this year. So I need somebody. I have somebody with her because she's still not so steady. So I don't like that she should walk around without somebody being there. Hopefully soon she'll be able to. Miriam Liba Bastavor, she should have Refuah Shalem B'Sech Shachar Yisrael.
What's her name?
Miriam Liba Bastavora. The Maril Diskin says, Vayimale Oisai Ruach Elikim B'Chokma B'Svuno V'Das. This is what they call Chabad. Right? Chokma, that's Chokma Bina, yeah, that's Svuna. Chokma Bina and Das, right? Chokma Svuna V'Das. He's a 30-year-old. He's full of Chokma, Svuna, and Das. Where does this come from? Says the Maril Diskin, Rabbeinu Shalom told them, Ru'u! Ru'u means his bonain. Says the meditate. The Chaste Hashem. Hashem wanted to give a nechama to this family. Churu was Ma'aseh Nefesh. I'm not kowtowing to you. I'm not doing an Avodah Zarah. So Chaste Hashem. Hashem invested his grandchild with incredible knowledge. It's Chaste Hashem. Ruh, take note of it. I once heard from Rapam, Ki kasher yiyaser ishes b'nai Hashem alikecha miyasrek. Like a man chastises his child, Hashem chastises a person. says a person has to chastise his son and punish him. He then does something to show his child that he still loves him. Smart parent. If Bainisham has to give a clap, then he shows special love. That's what happened here. His Ma'aseh Nefesh, he gave a grandchild with amazing, and by the way, Chur is the same letters as Ruach. So because of Chur, Betzal was given a Ruach Elikim. And then the pasuk says a moiridik thing, and with this I'll conclude. Ulahoirais nasan belibai, and to teach he put in his heart. What does that mean? First of all, simply it means a lot of people have knowledge, they can't give it over. Being a Baal Mazmir is a tremendous gift. A lot of people have knowledge, but they don't know how to give it over. Ulahoirais nasan belibai, he was able to conduct and teach everybody what to do. I always tell people that I feel that a big part of my hatzlacha and being a daf yomi Maggid Shir, and a Maggid Shir is that when I was in yeshiva, I always had a seder where I learned with a younger bacher. So I was always practicing teaching. It's a wonderful thing. Should have your bacher, you say, no, I only want to learn with the best bacher in the base Spanish. I want to steig. I got to learn with somebody better than me. But there's also the practice of knowing how to be a Baal Mazmir. And mitalmida yosim mikulan, when you have to explain, it makes it clearer by you. So, Bapash's Lahiris does unbelievable means he knows how to give over information. Not everybody can do that. I know especially people, they're computer experts. But every time they do something a different way, they can't teach it. They can't teach it. They can't give it over. It's a big problem. That's why they don't have hatzlacha as being web design. You be web design, you have to show people how to use it. They don't know how to show people how to use it. It's a big problem. But it means more than that. It means more than that. The Netziv writes, he wants to teach other people. There are a lot of people, they're not interested in teaching other people. I want to be the best I can be. I want to steig. I'm not interested in teaching other people. Let them fend for themselves. The Arachaim HaKodesh says this also. The Arachaim says, Sheratzu l'lamed acherim. The Arachaim HaKodesh says, not like Beis Aftinas and the Beis Garma. The Beis Aftinas in charge of the Ketores and the Beis Garma in charge of the Lechem Banim. They didn't want to teach anybody. They wanted to keep it for themselves. But even more than that, on the simple level, not just because of greed, they want to teach people. And that's the great gift of being a Marbitz Torah. Rav Palm used to say that the greatest title, it's not doctor, it's not lawyer, it's not dayan, it's not rabbi, it's a malamed. Because that's the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom, Baruch Atah Hashem, ha-malamed Torah le'ama Yisrael. To be a malamed. To want to be a malamed. As always, I thank you all for coming. We have over here a shirin ready for purchase from 11 years ago on Vayakheil. There's also the great shir, Esther and the Tapestry of Jewish History, as a shir for Purim, a historical shir of Purim. There's also the CD from last week, Parashas Kisisa. V'chananim and Akashama, Ratzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu, L'Zakaises Yisrael, L'Fika Chir B'Lam Torah, Mitzvahs, Shenemar, Ichafetz L'man Sitka, Yagdul Torah V'Yader.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.